My name is Christy Germanis. I am the Director of Marketing and Public Relations at YWCA McLean County. I wanted to welcome everybody and thank you for logging in to this BeSmart presentation given by Moms Demand Action. I'd like to welcome Diane Clemens, Robin Cashin, and Brad Park from the Normal Police Department who are going to give this presentation. And I wanted to let everyone know that we are recording this presentation and we will post it on the YWCA website when it's complete. So I just wanted to make sure everyone was aware that it is being recorded. Thank you so much for joining us, and I'll now turn it over to Diane Clemens.
Thank you, Christy, and welcome to BeSmart presentation. Again, it's hosted by McLean County YWCA. We're happy to partner with them on this project. I'm Diane Clemens. I'm a volunteer, I'm a retired nurse, and I'm a grandma. And with me is Robin Cashin, who is also a volunteer as part of the BeSmart team here in Bloomington Normal, and Brad Park, Community Service Officer at the Normal Police Department, and you'll hear from him in a little bit. We respect YWCA's long-standing commitment to children, families, social justice, and stronger communities, and that's why we're a good fit with the YWCA. BeSmart was developed by Everytown for Gun Safety to bring together parents, grandparents, caregivers, and all adults concerned about kids, guns, and safety. Everytown for Gun Safety is the largest gun violence prevention organization in the country. It has nearly 6 million supporters, including Mayors Against Illegal Guns, Moms Demand Action for Gun Sense in America, Everytown Survivor Network, and Students Demand Action. All of us are advocating for public safety measures that respect the Second Amendment and help save lives. I believe in this message because it is based on research, not opinion and politics. This presentation is going to be full of statistics. Don't try to remember them or even jot them all down. We will, as the presentation continues, be posting the documents that I refer to, and that'll give you all of the information. If you're unable to download or on a device that you're unable to do that with, just put in the chat option your email address and we'll email you the documents. Also know that all this information can be secured yourself on besmartforkids.org. You have been muted, and if you have an immediate question or concern, please put a note into chat and Robin will respond to you. I'll begin with the slide presentation and then Officer Park will address the group, and at the end we will have an opportunity for questions. I'm going to move to the to my document. You'll just give me a moment here. Everybody can see that okay? Okay, thank you. Okay. Firearms are the second leading cause of death for American children. Second leading cause of death for American children, unless you're a Black child in America. And then it is the leading cause of death. Nearly 1,600 American children under the age of 18 are killed with guns every year. That's an average of 4 children a day. When American children are killed with guns, the majority of these deaths, 52%, are homicides. That's nearly 800 children per year. In addition, 600 children die by firearms suicide each year. And well over 100 are unintentionally shot and killed. We know that approximately 4.6 million US homes, let me take that back. We know that approximately 4.6 million US children live in a home with at least one loaded, unlocked gun. I think it's a startling statistic if you haven't thought about it. 4.6 million US children live in a home with at least one loaded, unlocked gun. While school shootings and mass shootings typically make national headlines, the reality is that for children under the age of 13, gun homicides most frequently occur in their homes. And one study showed that nearly 90% of unintentional shooting deaths and injuries among children under the age of 15 occur in the home. What's more, we know that in incidents of gunfire on school grounds, 80% of shooters under the age of 18 obtain their gun or guns from their home or the homes of relatives or friends. Startling statistics and information, not easy to hear, not easy to tell you. Guns are an emotional topic, in part because we have very different experiences with guns. Some of us are gun owners, some of us are not. Some of us have had wonderful positive experiences with our families surrounding guns. And others have experienced gun loss of a loved one. We offer this program believing most gun owners want to be responsible gun owners. So today we will talk about what all of us, gun owners, non-gun owners alike, can do to make sure children do not have unsupervised access to guns. Our common ground. Let's leave politics at the door and agree on these three things. We all want kids to grow up happy and healthy. We each have the right to make responsible decisions about how to protect our homes and our communities, and that includes whether or not to have a gun in the home. And if we can prevent one child gun death or injury, it is our responsibility to do it. I'm not talking about laws or policies. I'm not going to preach. I'm not going to try to get into any sort of an argument. I just want to talk with you about the consequences of unsecured guns. It is an American problem. We have got lots of headlines, all too frequently in our newspapers, about gun violence. These are a few examples, and actually many times we don't hear about them. They're not published. And unfortunately, they become outdated all too soon. We have got examples as a school shooting in Kentucky. On the upper right, we have got the unintentional shooting, like this headline from Louisa, Virginia. An unintentional shooting is when a 4-year-old unintentionally shot and killed his 2-year-old brother. We've got teens carrying guns out of fear and protection. And we have gun suicide by children. These headlines are heartbreaking and show the fallout of what happens when young children get their hands on unsecured guns. No stories quite the same, all are tragic, all are preventable. In 2019, there were 193 unintentional shootings by children, resulting in 73 deaths and 129 injuries. Like this 4-year-old shooting his 2-year-old brother, unintentional shooting. Unfortunately, this year we've had an alarming increase with gun violence. As of September 1st, there has already been 191 unintentional shootings by children. In 8 months, we've had 191 shootings. The whole year, 2019, we had 193 shootings. The COVID-19 crisis has created new challenges for parents and children. We're all more stressed. Parents are working from home, needing help with childcare, and are dealing with financial issues with job loss. Kids are spending more time at home, oftentimes with less supervision, and are more socially isolated. And that leads to higher degrees of anxiety and depression amongst children. In this perfect storm, there has been a surge in gun sales in the US. The research is solid. securing all guns in the home, storing them locked, unloaded, and separate from ammunition can save a child's life. In March 2020, it was the first March since March of 2002, in the past 18 years, that there hadn't been a school shooting in America. Great news, except if you remember, schools were closed for half of March in 2020 because of the pandemic. Gun violence remains a significant threat to our children. You may be thinking, well, I practice responsible gun storage, or I don't even have a gun in my home. My kids are safe. However, you can't be sure about other homes when your children are visiting. You can't be sure how responsible other people are being when your child is in their home. And that's what BeSmart is all about. We will learn more about BeSmart with this short video that Robin is going to put up for us. Thank you, Robin.
You're welcome.
We did it. Yeah.
Okay, guys, okay. Next question, true or false? 4.6 million kids in the U.S. live with an unsecured gun in the house?
Is that right?
Is that what the card says?
It's gotta be false. Gotta be false.
It says it's true.
No.
Can't see it.
It's on the card, really?
No, I can't.
Yeah, that's what it says.
Yeah, I was reading about that. A lot of people are buying guns right now. Well,
Robin,
yeah, I
can't
buy guns.
see it.
But what's secured mean?
It says a secured gun is stored locked, unloaded, and separately from ammunition.
The kids don't even have the guns in the house.
That's what you said right before they found their Christmas present.
At a time when millions of kids are at home unexpectedly, don't let yours be one of the hundreds that are killed or injured each year with a gun they find at home. God.
You heard the video, we couldn't see it. However, it was two couples just chatting over a trivia game about the fact that one of the couples had bought a new gun and they had hid it in the house. And they were starting to realize not a good idea. And that was a promo that you can see on besmartforkids.org. It is effective public service announcement, we think, and we hope that you go and check that out. But we are going to talk about it, so you haven't really missed anything, because we're going to talk about what this really means. The S stands for secure. 13 million households with children contain at least one gun. And the majority of children in gun-owning households know where the gun is stored. We saw in an earlier slide the incidence of gunfire on school grounds. 80% of shooters under the age of 18 obtained the gun or guns from their home or the homes of relatives or friends. What do I mean by securing guns? As the video said, guns should be stored locked and unloaded, with ammunition stored separately. Hiding a gun, which we so oftentimes hear, is not securing a gun. Keep in mind that kids may feel a variety of emotions about guns, from curiosity to fascination to fear. As adults, it is our responsibility to prevent easy access to guns. Research also finds that responsible storage is associated with a decreased risk of firearm suicide and unintentional firearm injury among children. One study showed that households that locked both firearms and ammunition had a 78% lower risk of self-inflicted firearm injuries among children and teenagers, and an 85% lower risk of unintentional firearm injuries. Some commonly used responsible storage practices include using a cable lock, lockbox, or firearm safe, as well as storing firearms unloaded with ammunition stored separately. Certainly, there are more sophisticated storage methods for firearms as well, such as biometric safes for quick access, if that is a concern to you. Unsecured guns also contribute to a staggering number of guns stolen each year. An estimated 380,000 guns are stolen from private gun owners every year. And gun owners were 3 times more likely to have a gun stolen if they carried a gun in the last month. WGLT did a piece in the fall of 2019 about stolen guns and where they end up. Robin will post that in the chat for you to look at, to download if you are interested. Research indicates that nearly 1/4 of stolen guns are taken from vehicles. Storing a gun in a glove compartment or underneath the seat is not considered responsible gun storage. M is for model responsible behavior. Every law-abiding adult has the right to decide whether or not to have a gun in their home. But you can't rely on curious kids not to find that gun. As we saw on the slide before, one study showed that the majority of children know where their parents store their guns, and more than 1/3 reported handling their parents' guns, many doing so without the knowledge of their parents. Nearly 1/4 of parents did not know that their children had handled the gun in their home. It is always an adult's responsibility to prevent unauthorized access to guns, not a curious child's responsibility to avoid guns. Talk to your kids about gun safety, but remember that's a precaution, it's not a guarantee. Studies have found that young children who go through a week-long gun safety program are just as likely as children with no training to approach or play with a handgun when they find one. Modeling responsible behavior means that smart parents and adults make sure their kids don't have the opportunity to access guns. That said, we can't control the environments that all our children are in. Adults need to teach children never to touch a gun, even if they think it may be a toy gun. Adults need to give children the strategies and how to get out of a dangerous situation, and the importance of alerting an adult. As an adult, it's your responsibility to do everything you can to prevent a child from getting in a dangerous situation to begin with. We have linked in chat a handout on best practices for talking to children and teens about guns. Remember, 4.6 million US children live in a household with at least one loaded, unlocked gun. That's why you need to ask about firearms when your child is in another home. For the parents and caretakers in this room, just think about some of the things that you ask about allowing your child to go to a friend's home. If your child has an allergy, you talk about this. You make sure there's a car seat if they're going to be transported somewhere. There's how much TV, what are they going to be watching? We know that parents have very different ideas on what is appropriate and what is not. Is there adult supervision? As kids get older, we're asking about alcohol, access to the internet. Think of the concerns you have when your teenager babysits at a new home? Do you wonder about unsecured guns? You should. Asking about guns in the home should be as natural as asking about any other safety issue. But unfortunately, we feel awkward with it. So try making it part of your general safety conversation, and you might try asking via email or text if you're uncomfortable in doing so personally. Let's talk about recognizing the role of guns in suicide, the R of SMART. Access to a gun can mean the difference between life and death. Consider these facts. Most people who attempt suicide do not die unless they use a gun. In fact, 90% of suicide attempts with a gun result in death, a much higher fatality rate than with any other means of self-harm. This contributes to the fact that 40% of child suicides involve a gun. As our children get older, you may need to consider taking another look at your storage methods. If you've been using a simple cable lock, you may want to think about getting a gun safe. We all know how curious children can be, and as they get older, so much more resourceful. We need to act accordingly. If you know your loved one is in distress, you might want to consider temporarily removing a gun from your home. What would you do? How would you do that? In some communities, local law enforcement or some licensed gun dealers or gun ranges may be willing to temporarily store your gun, but most likely, you would temporarily store your guns in the home of a friend or family member. To manage risk for that friend or family member, you should lock any guns that you transfer and not provide the key or code. Additionally, please be sure that person has a FOID card. The National Youth Survey conducted by the CDC showed that 17% of high school students surveyed had seriously considered attempting suicide within the last year. One study showed that 41% of adolescents in gun-owning households report having easy access to guns in their home. As we discussed earlier, research shows that responsible firearm storage is associated with a decreased risk of child firearm suicide. This is National Suicide Prevention Month, the month of September. There are several online text resources for you to look at. This will be posted in chat. It's an excellent resource. Any parent should have these phone numbers in their phone for quick access. Be smart. The T is to tell your peers to be smart. Someone in the US hears this message every 21 minutes. The power of being smart is getting this information out so we can save a life. We have heard from people that because of the BeSmart presentation, they now know to ask about the presence of guns before their children go to other people's homes. People have talked to family members about guns in the homes when they have recognized the role of guns in suicide, and that gun owners are modeling responsible behavior by securing their guns and ammunition. So who are you going to tell about BeSmart? Who are you going to share these handouts with? Do you have an organization that could benefit from this presentation? Please post your email in chat if you would like us to contact you. Be smart. Secure, model, ask, recognize, tell. We ask that you consider this to save a child's life. With this, I would like to pause and ask Officer Brad Park to share his reaction to this presentation and his words from the community of Normal. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Diane and Robin. I've viewed this presentation many times, and every time I'm very thankful that you're out here, spreading this message, because it is a very important message, not only as a police officer with the town of Normal, but also as a father to 2 young daughters. So, first, I think to get a message across to somebody, it's generally easiest in my mind to tell a personal story, and so I'll tell a story of my 2 daughters. One thing I make sure they understand with me being a police officer, I do have a firearm that I secure in our home, is that me and my wife, we openly talk about that there is a firearm in the home, so that my daughters do know one is in there. They know the consequences of touching it. They know the consequences of telling friends where I secure it at, because it isn't a safe, a secured safe, and that's a big difference, because people often have a safe, but they may not lock it, or they may not secure it because they don't want to lose the key, or they don't want to lose they might forget the combination. That's pretty much, in my mind, just might as well just put it on top of the refrigerator at that point. So we do openly speak about it with my daughters. I have a sixth grader and a 3rd grader, and they know if for any reason they see any type of firearm, whether it's in our house or someplace else. You made a good point about reaching out to an adult immediately, and just understanding that firearms nowadays, they make toy guns that look just like real guns. And so there's really no difference in my mind, whether if you see a gun, whether it's toy or not, you let an adult know. One thing I would really like to press on that you spoke about, Diane, is the M in SMART. Modeling responsible behavior is really big in the police culture. We try to model ourselves to do what's right, to do what's best. And, when you are a gun owner, you are responsible for much more if you're not a gun owner, especially if you do secure your firearm at home. So, modeling that behavior for your family, for your friends that come over, is definitely very important. And we want people to take gun ownership very seriously. Whether you like guns, whether you are scared of firearms, wherever you kind of fall on that scale, people do have the right to possess firearms, but they do also, with that right, also comes a lot of responsibility. So at my house, I do, store my firearm at home. I do keep it in a secured safe. And, Diane mentioned also a big thing is, if you're not using your firearm every day, like I carry it with me at work, or if you want to be the most secure, securing the ammunition away from the firearm is the best practice to really be safe in having a firearm at home. I think Diane mentioned is locked, unloaded, and separate from the ammunition. Those 3 things can really benefit for keeping that firearm safe. As far as NPD goes, we do deal with, unfortunately, suicidal issues with individuals, and I can concur with everything that's been said, that if we go to a suicide attempt, that there is not a firearm involved, there is a good chance that us or Normal Fire Department can get there and hopefully bring that person back to life. With a firearm involved, it is a totally different story. And it is unfortunately so sad. I was a detective for 11 years of my career before I started this new position at Normal PD. And those are the worst of the worst cases that I've ever had to work. And so any type, whether it was purposeful or accidental, there's no coming back from a firearm injury for the most part. With that, I guess I would like to open it up to maybe some questions that anybody logged on has, or maybe Diane or Robin or anybody has a few questions for me.
Thank you, Officer Park, for being with us today, and I appreciate what you do. I do have a question because sometimes in our BeSmart work, we do encounter people that put up an argument that they need to have a gun in their home that is ready to use for home security, that is loaded and that they might need in, in the course of a home invasion or something.
Mm-hmm.
What would you tell a person like that?
So, one thing that I would mention is with gun ownership, you should also be very proficient with handling your firearm. So how I would respond to that is there may be an instance that you need to grab your firearm in a very quick manner, but hopefully if you're proficient enough, you're able to still grab your firearm, get it unsecured from its cable lock or from the safe that it's in, and then go and get that ammunition and load the firearm. We're not talking about it taking 1 or 2 minutes to do those few steps. If you're proficient enough and can train doing it, kind of running through some training and knowing what to do in an incident like that, there's no reason that you can't get your firearm unsecured from its container and load it in enough time. So that's what I would say to that. Also, with safes, a lot of people think of a gun safe as being a gigantic, heavy, you got to put your combination in type of safe. There's also safes that are biometric, so it can learn what your fingerprint is. So if you have that next to your bedside or someplace other in your house, there's safes that allow it to be opened much quicker than just, turning a dial or going to look for the key for the safe. So just know that there are different options out there for different safes.
Another question that I had is just specifically about the gun laws in Illinois in children. Is there a certain age that a child has to be before they're allowed to use a gun, own a gun, that type of thing?
Okay. You're putting me on the spot for this question, but I'll do my best. I believe the statute is you cannot possess, you cannot have a FOID card unless you're 18 years or older in Illinois. The age of 14 is the age where pretty much an adult has to be able to show that they're securing their firearm. I did pull up a quick website here. If a minor is under the age of 14 years old, they cannot have access to a firearm. It has to be secured with the device rendered inoperable, placed in a securely locked box or container, or placed in another location that a reasonable person would believe to be secured from a minor under the age of 14 years old. So, Diane brought up a great point earlier. We should not put it on our children to be the ones to make the right decision about where a firearm is secured, whether it's secured in a lockbox or a safe or somewhere else in the house. That's not the children's responsibility. All children are very curious. They know, or they may not tell you as a parent, but they've searched the house for different things. And so let's not put it on them to be the ones that responsibility is on.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Officer Park or for myself in regards to the BeSmart presentation? We're very appreciative to Christy and the YWCA for hosting this today and for recording it. So if you are interested in sharing this with a friend and thought it was worthwhile, that they can see it also, or at any point you can surely contact the Y, and Christy would be able to get in contact with us And we want you to have these handouts. And so if you have any problem accessing them, please do, possibly the easiest is to contact Christy and she will get in touch with us. And we will make sure that you get whatever you need. A wonderful source is online, is BeSmartForKids.org. And you will get all this information also. And we hope that you pass it on. We urge that you be smart. We thank you for your interest in our community and in children and their safety, specifically in regards to guns. And this brings our presentation to a close. Thank you so much for coming. And do tell others. Do tell others about this presentation and share the word. Thank you so much. Have a good day.